Hi, this is Marvin Lindsay, the senior pastor of First Presbyterian Church in Columbia. Checking in with you like I usually do on Thursdays and Fridays to invite you, urge you to come to worship on Sunday and give you a sneak preview of what to expect. But boy, what a week, huh? So this is not going to be the usual come to church on Sunday video because it's not been the usual week. So first of all, let me say in this video, we're going to do some nuts and bolts about what to expect on Sunday, who should, maybe shouldn't be here on Sunday. And then I want to close with some words of hope and encouragement that I think come out of our season of Lent that we are observing and come out of the Bible and out of our faith in God. And I hope you'll find it encouraging. So first of all, we are going to have worship this Sunday morning. Both services, the offering, our contemporary worship service will happen at 9:30, and our traditional worship service will happen at 11. There's parking available for you to the south side of the church. There's also a public parking lot across the street from us. We're located here at 16 Hitt Street in Columbia, right beside Hitt Street Records, the Ragtag Cinema, and the Uprise Bakery. So that's where we're located, and that's the times of our services. Now, there's some groups of people that should not be with us this Sunday morning because of the coronavirus outbreak that we are facing. First of all, if you're experiencing flu-like symptoms, don't come to worship on Sunday. Call your doctor. Call us as well, because we want to be able to pray for you and want to be able to encourage you and support you. If you're over the age of 70, I would discourage you from coming to worship this Sunday. We know that the coronavirus is more lethal for older adults than it is for younger adults. And when you are in a gathering of a large group of people, you're more likely to be exposed to the virus. So it's your call, but I would discourage you from coming to worship this Sunday. If you have a chronic or underlying health condition, heart disease, pulmonary disease, diabetes, cancer, anything like that, then I would not come to worship. Don't come to worship. Don't take that chance. And then also, if your immune system is compromised in any way, then don't come to worship on Sunday. But that doesn't mean you have to be entirely without worship. And the reason is that we're going to be live streaming both of our worship services on Facebook through Facebook Live. So find us on Facebook at FPC Columbia. Also know that the sermon portion of our worship services is uploaded every Monday to our website, www.fpccolumbia.org. Just click on the worship tab and on the sermon tab underneath that. And then also you can go to our website and support the mission and ministry of our church without having to attend worship on Sunday. So there's a tab for online giving at our website. You can also download the Give Plus app on your Android smartphone or on your iPhone and just scroll through and look for us, First Presbyterian Church, Columbia, Missouri. And you can make a financial donation to the mission and ministry of our church without actually having to be here physically on Sunday morning. Now, if you're going to be here on Sunday, this is what you should expect. So the first thing I want you to know is that Tony and James, our custodial crew, have been working really hard to clean and disinfect everything. Nancy, our administrative assistant, a couple of weeks ago, before the run on hand sanitizer, made sure that we were adequately supplied with hand sanitizer. So we're not hoarding it here at First Presbyterian Church, but we are adequately stocked with hand sanitizer. And so when you come to worship, I would encourage you to use the hand sanitizer or wash your hands in a restroom when you enter, and then also before you leave. We're having Sunday school for children. Sunday school kids will be dismissed from the 9:30 worship service, from the offering, for Sunday school after the children's sermon. There's also godly play for children at our 11 o'clock worship service, and they're dismissed for godly play after the children's sermon. So our early childhood center will be open Sunday, and it will be staffed. So know that as well. We are altering some of our worship practices on Sunday. So at the 11 o'clock service, we won't be passing the peace. And at both services, we won't be passing offering plates or baskets. So at the offering at 9:30, the offering baskets will be on the communion table, and Preston Turley, our contemporary worship leader, will invite you to come forward during the singing of the final praise song to place your prayer requests and your offerings in the basket. And it'll be kind of the same thing at the 11 o'clock service. There's going to be a little table at the end of the aisle, and I'll invite you to come forward while Michael Bancroft plays the offertory to place your offerings and your prayer requests in the uh, in the offering plate. What else? We do encourage you, if you attend, to spread out, disperse. Um, that's maybe not the best thing for congregational singing, but in the case of a pandemic, it makes for good public health measures to allow for an adequate amount of distance between you and other people. I'm going to be preaching on the story of Jesus's encounter with the Samaritan woman at the well, John chapter 4, and how that unlikely conversation yielded uh, unlikely success in the spread of Jesus's mission. The praise band at the offerings got a great set of songs to sing. At 11 o'clock, our choir, led by Jordan Walker and Michael Bancroft, our organist, who plays the Middle Bush organ, are going to be leading us as we sing "I Love to Tell the Story" and "Here I Am, Lord," which I know is a favorite of this congregation. So that's a little bit of what to expect. And I want to talk a little bit now about the situation that we're facing in light of this time of year that is in the church. It's the season of Lent in the church, and Lent is those 40 days, not counting Sundays, before Easter. And it's a 40-day season because the number 40 has been important to the people of God down through the ages. The Israelite people wandered in the wilderness for 40 years after they were liberated from slavery, but before they were able to enter the Promised Land. And Jesus began his earthly ministry with a period of fasting and being tempted by the devil for 40 days in the wilderness. And after he had passed all those temptations successfully, he was able to go back into society, and he began his earthly ministry. He began healing people, began teaching about the kingdom of God. And we are pursuing this theme of wilderness as our worship theme for this Lent in the year 2020. And we settled on this theme a couple of months ago. And at the time, I was a little bit unsure about it because it didn't really feel like our congregation was in the wilderness. We were in the middle of searching for a new director of children's and youth ministry, and now we have one. Audra West is on staff. And if you're a member of First Presbyterian, you know how great she is. And we were and are looking for a new associate pastor. And so it felt like, not so much a time of wilderness, but a time of new beginnings. More like maybe we should be emphasizing spring, maybe even looking a little bit more ahead to the resurrection of Jesus than thinking about the cross of Jesus. But I'm really glad that we went with this theme because we really are in a wilderness situation now in our society and really in our world. Wilderness means uninhabited land, like desert, tundra, just a place where people don't live. And while we don't live in a literal wilderness, we're having to limit our social interactions. So in a sense, we're kind of all going into a kind of wilderness experience. And with the Israelite people in the wilderness, they had no flocks, they had no crops, they had no means of providing for food for themselves while they wandered in the wilderness. God provided the food for them. It was this mysterious substance called manna, which the people would gather up and they would eat it, but they couldn't gather up enough for the next day because it would always spoil. So they just had to trust that there was going to be manna there for them the next day, the way that there was manna for them the previous day. And so their wilderness experience was the experience of learning to live day by day and learning to trust in God and learning to be led and guided by God. And boy, I think that is really so true about the situation that we're facing now. Look at what's happened to the stock market the last couple of weeks. So a lot of us, I think, are facing situations where we stored up stuff for years, for decades, and now, poof, it's just gone up in smoke. And so I know that there's a lot of fear and a lot of anxiety out there. People are concerned about their health. People are concerned about their finances. People who work in the hospitality industry, in the transportation industry, just giant sectors of our economy are being really severely impacted by the coronavirus, and so people are worried about the potential of layoffs, worried about what's going to happen to them. Um, so we're in the wilderness. We're in the wilderness. The good news is that God is with us in the wilderness, and that God is leading us and guiding us and directing us, and God is going to provide for our needs. And so I want you to remember that. I want you to remember that the people of God have been in this situation before, and God was faithful. God led them through to the promised land, and God is going to lead us to a promised land. We're going to get through this epidemic. We're going to get through this economic setback. Things are not going to get back to normal. There's going to be a new normal, maybe 18 months from now, 2 years from now. That's not going to be like it was just a couple months ago, but it's going to be okay. But beyond that, we worship a God who raises the dead. He gives life to the dead, and he calls into existence things that don't exist. That is our great hope as Christians, that Jesus Christ is alive, that Jesus Christ is the image of God's future for us. So when we look to the future, don't look with a short-term view. Be prudent, take measures to protect your health, but keep that long-term vision in mind that that Jesus Christ is coming again to make all things new. And so in this time of pestilence and adversity and the diminishing of fortunes, know that there is abundance in store for us. There is justice in store for us. There's peace, there's health in store for us, because Jesus Christ is alive, and what God has done for Jesus Christ, God intends to do for the whole creation. So I encourage you to have hope and be confident. Be prudent. Don't be reckless, but be hopeful and be confident, because we worship a good God, and a good and faithful God is guiding us and directing us through this wilderness experience and into the promised land. I'm trying to take a problems as opportunities approach to this situation that we're facing, because we worship a good God, a faithful God, a God who intends to bless us and who is in control of our future. And so I think that in this time we're going to learn how to be the people of God in a different way. I think like a lot of colleges and universities and businesses, we're going to learn how to use Zoom to get some things done electronically that we used to think we had to do face to face. So I'm looking forward to that challenge of, how to have session meetings online, how to do small groups online. We've dipped our toe into this area in the past, but now we're going to get a crash course in it. So I'm kind of excited about the opportunity to learn something new. Not excited about a pandemic, not excited about a recession, but I am excited about the opportunity to learn something new. And I'm excited about doing this with you, with the members of First Presbyterian Church, because I know that it's in your DNA that in times of crisis and in times of uncertainty, you step up and you make a difference. So you may know this story if you're a long-term member, but I'm going to tell it for those new members and also for anybody else who just happens to be watching. In the 1890s, the University of Missouri burned to the ground, or Academic Hall, I believe was the name of it. It burned to the ground, and the university was threatened with closure. And First Presbyterian Church offered its facilities as a place for classes to continue. And out of the ashes of that, a new university emerged. And the columns from Academic Hall, they still stand on the university campus in front of Jesse Hall. And those columns are a testimony to the resilience of the university community, to the state of Missouri, and also to First Presbyterian Church, who you stood in the gap in a time of crisis, in a time of deep uncertainty. And you're going to do that again today and in the months to come. It's kind of the opposite problem we're facing. We're not trying to find a place for students and professors to gather. We're trying to figure out how we can get some things done without gathering. But you're going to rise to the occasion because it's in your DNA, because you're good people. And that's what we've got to do. I'm going to close this video. Good gracious, it's 15 minutes. You get an extra sermon this week. I'm going to close this video with the same challenge that I closed the email that I sent to you earlier today. And that is, I want you, when you close this video out, to take a pen and sit down and write down the names of 5 people that you know who cannot face this pandemic alone. And then I want you to reach out to them. And I want you to ask them, is there anything you can do to be of help? And I want you to tell them that you're praying for them. Because that's how we're going to get through this situation. We have to isolate ourselves from each other, but we can't face this alone. And that's the great challenge, the great paradox of this crisis that we're facing. We have to isolate, but we have to isolate as a community. And we got to look out for each other. So this is how we're going to get through it. We're going to look to God for help, and we're going to look out for each other. Look to God for help and look out for each other. And we're going to make it. We're going to make it together. And we're going to be a stronger congregation in the future. We're going to be a stronger society in the future. We're going to learn some things that we didn't know. And I think the thing that we're going to learn most of all is that God is faithful. And that God has blessings in store for us for our future. I wish I could think of that passage from Jeremiah that everybody quotes in a situation like this. I have plans for you, plans for your welfare and not for harm, to give you a future with hope, or something like that. My pastor colleagues who have more scripture memorized than I do, my Baptist colleagues, they could probably knock that one out of the park right now. So any Baptist ministers watching this, just direct message or text me with the passage. But that's how we're going to get through this. We're going to look out for each other. We're going to look to God, and we're going to learn that God is faithful. So take care, be of courage, and know that I'm praying for you, and that it's my joy and my pride to be your pastor. Take care. Goodbye.